ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयामदेवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। स एव सर्वं यद्भूतं यच्च भव्यं सनातनं ज्ञात्वा तं मृत्युमत्येति नान्यः पन्था विमुक्तये। There is no other way of understanding what the truth of yourself. How, because the truth of yourself, meaning that you are not bound. That is truth of yourself, that you are limitless and not confined to this tiny little body, mind, sense complex. That is the truth of yourself. And the truth of yourself is really not away from you. If it was away from you, then the karma is needed. For anything that is away from you, action is needed to bring it closer. And we have already seen, either in this or the other classes, that actions come into 4 categories. What are they? Janyam, that which is to be produced. And here, the limitlessness is not a product. It's nothing to be produced. It's neither produced nor is it a product. And samskaryam, cleaning actions. Limitlessness is not dirty. Atma is not dirty. It doesn't have to go into the laundry every week. And so therefore that kind of action also is, varjita, is told is not useful for knowing Atma. And then vikaryam, that where you take 2 things and give rise to a 3rd thing. Like milk, you put in little bit of yogurt starter and, what is that? Stir it up and put it in a warm place. Next day you have yogurt. So you can't have Atma yogurt. Yeah. Mix Brahman milk and Atma starter and then you have Atma yogurt. This is also because there is no... Why you can't do that? Because there is only one thing. To mix 2 things, you need at basic minimum 2 things. Otherwise, if you are making something more complicated like bhel puri, you need more than 2 things. It's like some kind of a mishmash snack. So you need more than 2 things, but here at least 2 things you need, correct? And if those 2 things are itself not available, there's only one thing we are saying, so that vikaryam, the 3rd kind of action, is also varjita for Atma. Then finally the 4th kind, which is what? Gamyam, to go somewhere because it's away from you. Where is Atma away from you? Like yesterday I said, is my hand, what is the distance? What should my hand do to reach space? Please tell me, what should it do? Yeah. It's looking for space. Where are you? Oh, space. It is singing sad songs because it wants to become one with space. So therefore, karma does not produce knowledge. Karma, because knowledge is something that has to be, is not based on will. This is very important. Karma doesn't produce knowledge because knowledge is based not on will. Karma is based on will. And therefore, there are many choices available while doing karma. You can say, I can do it, I'll do it later, I will procrastinate. And then you can say, I will do it differently. Like, for example, in India, if you go to different people's houses for lunch, then you find that each one has a different recipe to make the same dish. You find even the simple dish, like you take dal, there are at least 1,000 ways of preparing it. There are at least a few established way of preparing it. Even if we divide it by region, north, south, east and west, and the easterners prepare dal this way and the westerners prepare that way. Even if you were to make it like that, even among the northerners there will be so many recipes, plus there will be family recipe, and they will say, this is how we do it in our house, and this is how grandma did it. Great grandma made the dal that way, great 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 grandma made the dal that way, and this is our family recipe. And we put something extra there which nobody does. So like this, with karma, you can make dal in 1,000 of, you can cook dal in 1,000 of ways. So how are you going to cook this Atma? Atma ko kaise pakaoge? How are you going to cook this? That which doesn't need cooking is Atma. That which is already there. So therefore, it is not available for, karma, for action. This we have to really properly understand. The Atma is not available for action because action is based on will. And yesterday we said there is no choice in knowing. Oh, but I have to turn on the computer, I have to log on to class. Yeah, a little bit of will. But really speaking, that's just you are bringing, that's not even the will to know really. It's the what actions are doing when you turn on the computer or when you drive here to come to class. What the action is doing is that it's bringing the pramana, the means of knowledge. It's bringing you, exposing the mind to the means of knowledge. And that's not really an action, really speaking, Like if you have your eyes open, you will see, correct? So the opening of the eyes, you can technically say it's an action. But really speaking, you're bringing the means of knowledge, pramana, and that which is to be known, prameya, together. And when they are in contact, knowledge takes place. So the karma is really doesn't have a role. Karma shies away and goes and sits in a corner because action and knowledge are like oil and water. They don't mix very well even in a salad dressing, Yeah. They are just not supposed to mix. And knowledge is, what is this knowledge about? It is about the actionless you. Do you see another reason why the action doesn't produce the actionless? How can action produce that which is actionless? That which is actionless is its nature, which is you, akarta, abhokta. And then for all that the action does, the role of the action is basically for the sake of, producing something. And why will somebody go about just producing something? For the sake of enjoying it, correct? Yeah. So the action is for karta and bhokta. For kartritvam and bhoktritvam, for the karta produces something in order to enjoy. If somebody is cooking, you say, oh, you're making so many dishes. Are you expecting guests? No. Are you planning to just have a feast by yourself? No. Then what will you do after cooking? Well, it will be 2 hours from now, so it will be time to cook dinner. Now I'm cooking lunch. Then what are you going to do? Then I'll get ready to see what to make for breakfast tomorrow. Nobody does that, correct? The cooking is for the sake of, it's secondary, really. Cooking is for the sake of eating, correct? And eating also is for the sake of enjoying a healthy body. Enjoying that sensation of the food going in and the tastes and everything. And, and having a good time with it. So therefore, what is this here? We have to see this properly. This is, otherwise, this part of the knowledge is very important. Otherwise, it will not go in. And I am not saying that the knowledge is the only way. Upanishad herself is saying, na anyah pantha vimuktage. There is no other path. In fact, even this one path is not there. You have to know. That's all it is. You don't know, you have to know. There is no choice, there is no option. You have to know. And the way of knowing is to expose yourself to the means of knowledge. Like, how did you know that this is pot? There was a time you didn't know this was pot, correct? Maybe you were 1 year old, 2 year old, and you pointed, and then mother or father said, this is pot. How did you know? Just like that, you exposed yourself to the means of knowledge called the eyes, and then the word and the meaning that this was connected to was supplied, and then you came to know pot. So this knowledge is also like that. You have to expose yourself to the means of knowledge. And here is where the rub is, because the means of knowledge in the case of the knowing the pot or any other discrete object are in your own hands. The means of knowledge are in your own hands. It's not in the hands of someone else. Right? Yeah. You operate the vision, you operate the ears, and then what? And then the knowledge is produced, so you really feel that you are producing the knowledge. But this is not really true, ultimately speaking. But let's not go there right now. So you feel like you are producing the knowledge. And then what? And then in case of self-knowledge, what happens? The pramana is handled by the teacher. Correct? Yeah. The pramana operates by knocking off the knower from the limited pedestal of knowing finite objects, and shows that the nature of the knower, knocks off the knower doesn't mean it destabilizes the knower. It destabilizes the knower only temporarily, only to repatriate the knower with his or her own nature. And what is the nature of the knower? The one who is all-knowing without needing to stand on the pedestal of the knower. Do you see that? Do you see why you have to vacate the pedestal of the knower? Because when you hold on to this little pedestal, then what will happen? Then you are limited to what you know. And as you know, what you know is so limited, it can be dismissed by one more question. As Pujya Swamiji says, what is this? Flower. Okay. Why this flower is this color? I don't know. Why that flower is the other color? I don't know. Why it is a particular shape? I don't know. So in everybody's, repertoire of knowledge, there are more I don't knows than there are I knows. Is that correct? Yes. So that's why the knower is always sad, because the I don't knows are overpowering the I know. Correct? So the knower, the pramata, is a sad, dejected fellow all the time. And the pramata has a hunger for knowledge, because that really speaking, that hunger is for self-knowledge, but the pramata has not recognized it. The pramata has a hunger for self-knowledge, really speaking. Because it is only through the Atma Jnanam, through the self-knowledge alone, one can understand that the status of that knower is not just limited to being the knower. And as the next mantra will show, the known is not separate from the knower. Correct? And the knower is a superimposition on that which is neither known nor knower, which appears as the Jagat Karanam, the cause of the entire universe. That is the true nature of the knower. The true nature of the knower is a sentient, conscious, all knowledge, limitless being. And so therefore, you have to get off the pedestal of I am the knower of so and so. That transitive word to know, verb to know something as an object has to be given up in the wake of this knowledge. And that is why the exposure to the pramana is necessary. And therefore, that is how the knowledge takes place. Because when the pramana is handled properly by the teacher, and who is the teacher? The one who can communicate. There may be many people that know. There may be lots of people who know all is one, but they may not be able to communicate. So what is the use of going to people that cannot communicate? Or they choose not to communicate. Sometimes the people say, some jnanis might just choose to spend the rest of their life in silence or choose to not teach. So therefore, the onus is on the person to find a person who can teach, and the one who has preferably been already taught properly by his teacher, her teacher, his teacher, in a way that doesn't distort the Upanishad. Because the Upanishad has a tatparya, has a purport, and that purport must be communicated exactly as it is. You cannot just read things into it. And also we are blessed with a tradition that goes back, 5,000 years, 10,000 years, we have a tradition. And in the tradition, how people have looked at it, and that is what we follow. So really speaking, there is no distortion possible, because we have a teaching lineage that has come from teacher, student in an unbroken line. How do you know it's an unbroken line? Because you are here. You are right here. So therefore, this pedestal of occupying this knower's place has to be given up. I'll tell you a story which is very nice. Once I was asked to, judge, this was in India. Once I was asked to judge some competition, some chanting competition. Small children. And then one of them got first prize. One of them got second prize. And one of them got the third prize. So what they did in the school was that they had that, these... even in Olympics, they do it. They have a pedestal, a three-step thing. A high pedestal for the one who came first, and then the second and third, and I had to put something on each of their necks, whatever the school gave. So I did that. They were so cute. Then the ceremony was over, and the child that came first, she was still standing on that pedestal, refused to get off. He was tiny, 7 years, 6, 7 at the most. Refused to get off, started to cry. And the parents are saying the ceremony is over. Now it's time to go home. You have to get off now. And she said, but if I get off this, because see, she says, number 1 is written here, meaning I'm first. If I get off, then I won't be first. This was her thinking, and we may laugh at her antics, but what is the person who is, coming to Vedanta doing? Same thing. I want to cling on to this pedestal of the knower, because if I give that up, that means I don't know anything. That means I'm powerless. That means I don't have a status, because the identification with the mind and the intellect is so strong. Yeah. So you have to give up the pedestal to know that really speaking, there is the source of the knowledge is really not the mind. Yeah. Source of knowledge is that which upholds even the mind. The source of that knowledge is you. That undivided knowledge that does not split into knower known. That source is you. It is not other than you. So the mind is included in that source. The senses which are also have their own way of knowing are included in the source. All means of knowledge are included in the source. But then, if you cling on to this pedestal of the knower, that means you are trying to outsource this source. And that's not a possibility. That's not a possibility. This source is that which cannot be outsourced. You cannot tell the ears, go find out about Brahman and come back. And what will they do? They will come back very sad, because, you cannot grasp Brahman through the ears. And you send the mind, go find out about Brahman, send the speech, go find out about Brahman and come. What happens? Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha. The mind and the speech come back very sad, hand in hand, consoling each other, wiping each other's tears, because they could not grasp this nature of oneself as that all-knowing, limitless consciousness, the light of all lights. They were unable to grasp that. Because if they were able to grasp that, what would happen? Brahman would become limited. And samsara would continue. And so therefore, it is said repeatedly that na anyaf pantha vimuktaye. And like I said, this is taken, this is exactly a reiteration of the Purusha Suktam. There it says, na anyaf pantha ayanaya. Vidyate ayanaya. Vidyate means is not there. Another road is not there to reach this goal. And this, we have to see this logically. We have to see what is it that is, what is it that is being asked of the person here. To have an open mind, to expose oneself to the knowledge, saying that this is the only means of knowledge that will liberate me from from this notion of bondage. This is the only way I can really see, like Mirabai did, that the ocean of knowledge is but an ocean. And this is what she sings. She sings this, She says she went to the Guru. She went to the Guru to get swimming lessons. Swimming where? In the ocean of samsara. How to avoid the alligators of sorrow and the fishes of doubt and all these things, and the seaweeds of entanglement. How to avoid, like that she went to get swimming lessons. How to avoid the riptides and the currents and undercurrents of despair, and the tsunami of depression. How to avoid? She went to the Guru for swimming lessons. Then what did the Guru do? The Guru, with the teaching, made the ocean itself disappear. Yeah. And she sings this, Bhavasagar sab sukh gaya hai. Fikar nahi more taran ki. So there is no need to swim anymore, because I was looking for a band-aid over this gaping wound, which I thought was a gaping wound. And when the wound itself disappears, where is the band-aid? Yeah. That is the real meaning of self-knowledge. An aid that removes the need for any other aid. The ultimate aid. And so therefore, and then she says, Mira ke Prabhu, Giridhar Nagar, Ulat bhai more nayanan ki. My eyes have undergone a revolution. My vision has undergone a revolution, because I used to see wrongly, and that vision has been altered. And this is that alteration of the vision, really speaking, to which one has to submit. And one has to submit to that and surrender to that. And it's not surrendering to a person. It's not surrendering to one person and then you have to obey the Guru, and the Guru is going to make you dance up and down, As though the Guru has no other job. So it's not about, it is about letting go of control over that finite things that one controls. But it is not about coming under the control of another. That is not what this knowledge is about. So therefore, when I look at the pramana, I look at it as a holy and sacred knowledge that is going to liberate me from my notions of finiteness. So that is the vision. And that is called Shraddha, with which I receive this knowledge. The attitude with which this knowledge is received is called Shraddha. And this is what one needs. Shraddhavan labhate jnanam. This is what one needs. And this, unless the Shraddha is there, the knowledge will not take place. This is very, very important to know. But then what about Guru allergy? Guru allergy will go. The exposure to the knowledge will remove the Guru allergy, will override it. And really speaking, the Guru allergy is pointing to something else. It's an authority issue. Fear of authority. And Guru allergy also goes alongside with God allergy. Fear of authority. Some childhood problem, mother problem, father issue, mother issue. It has to be resolved. That's all. And that's why, in a way, the internet classes, I suppose, are very safe. Because you don't need to, the Guru allergy is not activated that much, You can switch off the computer, you can do so many things, you can enjoy the knowledge without needing to interact, really speaking, with the Guru. So therefore, I think the internet classes are a big blessing to all of it, So in the beginning, I didn't know how this medium would be used, when Ramakrishnan ji was, talking earlier, long ago, 2004, since then we have been having this classroom. And so when this idea was brought up and all these things, I was wondering how will this work? But really it works better than live sometimes, I feel. One is really not missing anything. So the Guru Allergy will go, really. God Allergy will go. The authority issues when when you, as soon as you say, I have a resistance, then that resistance is already owned up, correct? And that resistance, what it has to go, because it cannot sit here. It's like a, it's like a, in a wedding, in Indian wedding, this happens a lot. Usually there will be, in the olden days, the wedding used to go on for three days, 4 days, something or the other, because it was an arranged marriage, and people didn't know each other. So this was the way the bride and the groom's families used to interact and get to know one another. An arranged marriage. And so there would be functions, all kinds of functions, the functions between what are called the sambandhis, meaning the parents of the bride and groom. They would do things together to get to know each other, and the bride and groom used to do things together, like they would have a little, thing of, what is that? A small, a big bowl of milk with rose petals and everything, and the rings would be dropped in it, and they have to find the ring, and whoever finds the ring, like this, some games would be there. So in this 4-5 day marriage festival, there would be one fellow, and then, which nobody really knows. The bride side is being very nice to that fellow, thinking that he is from the groom side, because he was very helpful all the time, saying, oh, you want that to be lifted, let me lift it, let me put this here. And in the first 12 hours he has got the what is its name, the confidence of the groom side and the brides. And the groom side people he would go to and say, oh, is everything all right? Yeah, do you need anything? If you need anything special, more hot water, oh, some more tea, what do you need? And he would be extremely helpful to both sides. And the groom side are very happy with him. Why? Because, oh, this is so nicely taken care of. And the bride side is extremely happy with him also, because he's so helpful. Then, then the final thing, the final ceremony usually is just, they sit down, the parents of the bride and the groom, and then they, recollect on how nicely everything went off. And there are some more final gift givings. And then, in that gift giving, they say, by the way, that young man was so helpful. What is he to you? The bride's father is asking. The groom's parents say, we thought he was from your side. Then quickly they get suspicious, correct? And they go look at the storeroom where all the silver is kept, correct? Silver is gone, and this, silvery man is also gone, correct? Yeah. So like this, you do, and so, but then as soon as you name it, it's gone. This is what the status of the knower is. The resistance and the feeling I am being dislocated from all my assumptions. The ahankara, the knower, which attaches itself to the ahankara, the status of the knower, which attaches itself to the I notion, that I am this knower and I know this much, and I feel a resistance to looking at anything else in any other way. All this, as soon as you own it up, as soon as you say, you are an imposter, you are the one, as soon as you say that, it shimmies away. Yeah. That is the thing. And so like that, here also, the resistance, if it is named, the guru allergy, the knowledge allergy, if it is named, it cannot harm you anymore. Like a cockroach, it hides under something, some dark place, it hides and goes away. That's what it is. And in fact, this is the definition of ahankara. Vicharam nasahate, that which does not brook any enquiry. So you start inquiring into this resistance, it pushes off. Yeah, it pushes off. That's how it is. And so therefore, the resistance need not be, worrisome at all. It will be overcome. Now that you have thought of it and pointed to it, it will be overcome. And so therefore it says, na anyaf pantha vimuktaye. If you want to be free, expose yourself to the knowledge. Then comes another very important question. So I have exposed myself to the knowledge. I have been studying for so many years, so many months, so many days. Okay, that's good. No, that's not good because you have not heard everything that I want to say. Okay, what do you want to say? Nothing has happened. Nothing has happened. Is it really true that nothing has happened? Correct? Is it really true? Ask yourself. And then you might be surprised with the answer. And so then the question is modified. Why it is so slow? Because there needs to be some background work. Shraddha muscle has to do some, what are they called? Kasrat. Yeah, some push-ups, pull-ups, all these things. The Shraddha muscle has to be, done. And the six-pack, another set of muscles, Shama, Dama, Uparati, Titiksha, Shraddha, the Samadhanam, all that has to be gained. Has to be, buttressed. And all this has to be done. So you go back to the qualifications. Adhikritasya adhikaraha. So Viveka, Vairagya, where is it that there is a gap? And fill up that gap because that gap is up to you. You can fill that up. You can make a pratignya. Pratignya means you can take a vow right now to say that I'm going to look into myself and see what is lacking and fill that up. How to fill that up? Go against the very thought of whatever that is, If the mind is restless, replace with Shama, replace with quietude. If the mind has no Shraddha, fake it and make it. Really. Fake the Shraddha. Really speaking, there is no reason to not have Shraddha. So if you fake it, you are not really faking it. This is one way of convincing the mind to fake it and make it because it's really you. That's all it is. Then if, Dhamma is lacking, if Uparati is lacking, Viveka, Vairagya are lacking, apply the mind to gain more Viveka and Vairagya. Ask yourself, what is it that I really want? And what is it that, give this knowledge a chance. Really, that's all what any teacher asks. Give this knowledge a chance because you're not doing the teacher a favor. You're doing yourself a favor by opening your heart to receive this knowledge. Otherwise, what is there? Teacher will go on teaching. You will go on listening. And then, it's like nothing is happening, then one complains. If one is not complaining, then there is no action needed. But if one feels that one can go deeper, but one is not allowing oneself to, this is the time to do it. One more week is left for the 1 month course. And if there is some way in which you have held yourself back, let go. What will happen in 1 week? Nothing will happen. Nothing wrong will happen. What do you have to lose except the shackles of the notions of bondage, which has been made into an ocean because of ajnana? So really let go. Invite yourself. Give yourself the permission to let go and listen with a different attitude if that's not what you've been doing. Allow yourself to receive this present of your own presence, which is the now, which is the forever, which is really what you are seeking forever and ever and ever. That is what you're seeking. So give yourself the gift, because in this 1 week a lot can happen really. Even in one class a lot can happen. Even from yesterday things are not the same as today. So therefore, so this is this pratignya, this making up one's mind itself is a very big thing. That sankalpa, that making that intention that I'm going to listen very carefully and very differently. And let the past and all the discouragement, the hopelessness that I'm never going to learn, that this knowledge must not be for me, and when is it going to happen, and what will this knowledge do? Come on, how is it going to change my life? All these doubts and desperate thoughts, this is the time to put aside. Because the time is now. Doesn't matter if you were discouraged in the past. Right now, whip up every single piece of enthusiasm that you have available and just open the heart and listen. Next one. Sarvabhutasthamātmānam Sarvabhutasthamātmānam Sarvabhutani Chatmani Sampashyan Brahma Paramam Yati Nanyena Hetuna
Yati nanyena hetuna.
Yeah. Sarva bhutastham. Stham, from stha to stay, that which is in all the things. Sarva bhutastham, that which is there in all the elements and the elementals in all beings. Sarva bhutani cha atmani. So not only that which is present in all beings. And what is that which is present in all beings? Atmanam, I. Sarva bhutani cha atmani. And then what? So one is present in all beings. And then the other way around also, all beings are present in oneself. Sarva bhutani cha atmani, all beings are present in me. Sarva bhutastham atmanam, I am in all beings. Sampashyan, samyak pashyan, seeing this very clearly. Brahma paramam yati, the person goes or attains the ultimate thing called Brahman. Na anyena hetuna, not by any other means. This is the translation. Recognizing clearly that one is present in all beings, and then again that sampashyan must be carried over to the other side also, and again clearly recognizing that all beings are non-separate from oneself. Then what happens? One attains that ultimate goal called Brahman, which is the truth of oneself, not by any other means. See, this is again a verse, mantra that is lifted by the Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. So Vyasa was a plagiarist because he's copying from Upanishad. Where else are you going to copy from? Tell me. Yeah. The Upanishad is a statement, is the statement. Everything else is a restatement, really. You can say it in 100 different ways, but you cannot improve upon it. Yeah, that's all it is. That is the knowledge. So the primary source is the Upanishad. And from the Upanishad, it is said in 100 different ways, by everybody. And Bhagavan Vyasa knows that the Upanishad says it the best. So he has chosen 4-5 Upanishads and then he restates it in the form of the Bhagavad Gita. That's how it is. Even the Granth Sahib is like that. It's all the Upanishadi statements put in a very simple form so that the people can understand. It's all Vedanta, really. It's wonderful. So like that is the job of the Gurus, to make it accessible. And so this is a very important verse. And where does it feature? In the 29th verse of the 6th chapter, Dhyana Yoga. And there Sampashyan is replaced by Ikshate. The first line is the same. Sarva bhutastham atmanam sarva bhutani chatmani Ikshate yoga yuktatma. And, Samadarshanaha, like that it is, like that it is given in the 29th verse of the 6th chapter. And this is a very important verse because it talks about what it takes to gain the knowledge, and it also talks about the ultimate phala, the fruit of this knowledge. Both it talks about. And see very nicely what the Upanishad has done here is that, the first line here in verse number 10, are we on verse number 10? Mm-hmm. Yeah, the first line here is Atma. Atma comes twice. Atmanam, Atmani. And then the second line is what? Brahma. Again to show that they are one and the same. This all we have to, clearly see this. There is a great joy in looking at the text like that so closely. There is so much fun. So here, Sarva bhutastham atmanam sarva bhutani cha atmani. Very simply put, the translation doesn't make much sense. All beings are in me. Yeah. Okay, next. I am in all beings. Theek hai. Moving on, What do you mean I am in all beings? I am not in the scorpion that is biting me. Correct? So why will I bite myself? And then I'm not in, all these horrible things that are keeping on happening. How can you say I'm in everything? And then everything is in me, including all outlaws, and then these terrorists are all in me. How to bend the mind around that? And for this, we have to start from the beginning to see that the Vedanta 001, what is Vedanta 001? Vedanta 001 starts with a premise, a working premise. Let us qualify that. The working premise is that in this world there are two things. Remember those days when we used to talk like that? Dvau hi padarthau. What are they? Atma, anatmanau. There are only two things in this universe. One is called I. And the rest of the things, please look upon that as anatma, not I. Correct? And then so anything then further we are told in Vedanta 001, baby Vedanta. The ABC of Vedanta, A for Atma, B for Brahman, C for Chit. Yeah. So, like this, the ABC of Vedanta teaches that first you do the sifting, the separation. You sift the husk from the paddy, the rice. Of course, these days, with all the, with all these new ways of eating, especially in a place like Eugene, they get very sad when you say sift the husk from the paddy. This was a Vedic example. The people in Eugene will run to save the husk and throw away the paddy because that has the B complex and that has all the vitamins. So, all this organic, organic craze and the healthy eating macrobiotic craze, yeah. And now the cow is eating processed food and you go back to eating wheat grass. That is what happens. It's all ulta. So, yeah, all you have to do in the morning, you don't have to cook ever. All you have to do is go to the front lawn and graze in the morning. And then go to the backyard and graze in the afternoon. Finished, no upkeep, yeah. Niragnihi nishkriyaha, you can live like a sannyasi, never light the stove. Don't do anything, yeah. Like the deer and all these things, graze, that's all. So first we are told that there are two things, Atma and Anatma. I, which has to be sifted from everything that is not I. And the not I is a problem. This is what we are told. The not I is a problem. Why? Because the stupid thing keeps seeping into the I. And when the I is not able to recognize itself, it takes itself to be the not I. So we have a twofold superimposition. I take myself to be not I. Correct? That is one. Atmani, Anatma Darshanam. And then Anatmani, Atma Darshanam. This is a mutual adhyasa. Anyonya adhyasa, Adi Shankara's term. Anyonya adhyasa means a mutual superimposition. In the not I trace the I. In the child, in the dog, this frequently happens. I was going for a walk. Just few days ago this happened. Then somebody else was also walking on the other side of the road. And then they crossed another paths with another person who was walking the dog. And so those two people greeted each other because they were on the same side of the road. And one of them said, "Nice dog," the one that didn't have the dog. And then the other person said, "Oh, thank you, thank you." Who is being praised? Dog. If anybody should say thank you, dog should say woof woof, thank you. That feels good. I have a nice coat. I may not have a degree, but I have a pedigree. The dog should say. But the owner says, I am as good as the dog. You see, that is the feeling in the mind. I am as good. I see myself in all the things that I am not. I see myself in the child. So the child becomes an extension of me. I see myself in the spouse. That's why I keep trying to wind up and change the spouse all lifelong. I see myself in the house. If there is a crack in the house, I feel it's in my own head. I cannot handle it. So this is what is called, anatmani atma, adhyasa. This is the putting the I in where it doesn't belong. Does the I belong in the house? No. Is the I, belong in the neighbor? No. Does the I belong in the garden? No. Does the I belong in the pet dog or cat? No. Absolutely not. So, baby Vedanta lessons first will ask you to pull out yourself, pull out your investment of the I in the not I. So, anatmani atma adhyasa. That is first problem of samsara. Anatmani atma adhyasa means what? Superimposing the I over the not I objects. Superimposition of the subject over the object. Seeing the subject where the object is. Mistaking the object for the subject. That is called, that is called one kind of adhyasa. Anatmani atma adhyasa. Then we have another kind of superimposition called adhyasa or aropa. And what is that kind of superimposition? Atmani anatma adhyasa. Taking myself to be what I am not. I am limited. That limitation is what? Anatma or atma? Anatma. So the anatma qualities, when they creep in and start to define the atma again means self, please understand. When anatma creeps into the atma, it's a one kind of superimposition. And this anyonya mix-up, mishranam, this anyonya means this mutual superimposition is the cause of sorrow. This is what is called samsara. Atmani anatma adhyasa, anatmani atma adhyasa. So atmani, in the I, the not I qualities and attributes are nurtured and they creep in and they are here to stay. I am limited, I am finite, I am as good as the body, I am as good as what I know. So these are the two kinds of adhyasas, superimpositions, which create sorrow and fear, which create a notion of limitation. Does this sound familiar? It should, because this is beginning Vedanta, which everybody has heard somewhere or the other, correct? So this is what the student is told to start sifting. And how to begin this process of sifting? The process of sifting is very simple. That which I can objectify by the five senses or inference or more than one step inference or any means of knowledge that I command is what? Atma or anatma? Anatma. Abba, thank God. Okay. Is anatma, right? Because anything that I can objectify is I or not I? Not I. It has to be not I. So anything that I objectify is object. And the one who engages in the acts of objectification, even through the mind, not just through the sight, etc., even through inference, the one that engages in objectification is the Atma. Drishyaha dhivrittaya sakshi drigeva natu drishyate. The seer is not seen. The hearer is not heard. The inferer is not an object for inference. This is what one is told. Correct? And this is, and this gives a lot of relief from samsara immediately. It's like taking Pepto-Bismol. What is Pepto-Bismol? Antacid. Yeah. Because samsara is very acerbic and acidic. And so this is like taking an instant antacid. And the whole mind has this nice happy pink coating, because the Atma is under this pink coating of the initial Vedanta class. Why? Because it is something which is conserved, preserved from this horrible acidic anatma that is constantly attacking it. Correct? Because you can quickly go into the Atma mode immediately, When you are in samsara overdrive, you shift into the Atma gear, meaning everything is an object of observation. I am the subject. The nature of the subject is told as Satchidananda. That is, Vedanta 101. Then this nature of the subject is Satchidananda, and this Satchidananda alone is, nothing else is. And you are that. That is what it is, correct? So, so then, even though one may not go so far as to understand that I am not all this itself gives a lot of relief. Okay, I'm not my house. I'm not my child. I'm not my dog. So anything that is happening to the dog, cat, child, house, spouse, mouse is not happening to me. I am that which is protected by all this. Nothing can assail this Atma. This much itself gives a lot of relief to the samsari. Gives a lot of relief. Great amounts of relief is there. Abba, you feel wonderful. However, okay, actually I should say one more thing before we get to this however business. However is not nice to hear. So, so one more thing about this before the however comes in. This sifting process of the Atma Anatma has a technical term, which if you know, you will feel very good. This is called Tvam-Pada-Vichara. Vichara, inquiry. Into what? Tvam-Pada, the word you. Oh, but I'm confused now. You said it's all about I, now you're saying it's about you. Array, if I say you, then what do you say? I. That's all. So this is what, the whole thing is. Very beautiful. So this is what is called Tvam-Pada-Vichara. The enquiry into the word you. So why I have no other business other than to inquire into the word you? Why? Why does the word Tvam, why does Tvam-Pada, Pada means word, why does Tvam-Pada need Vichara to begin with? Why? Why does it need? Because it happens to be part of the Upanishadic statement, the Mahavakya that is to be seen. Where does it feature? No, but what is the sentence? Tat, as in Tat Tvam Asi. So because there is a sentence, Tat Tvam Asi, first I have to find out it's an equation that is made between the something called Tat, which is equal to Tvam, correct? So then I have to examine each side of the equation. And I can't take the Tvam for granted, because when I take the Tvam, which is this I, for granted, then what do I get? I falsify the equation. Tvam, Tat Tvamasi. You are that which is Bhagavan. Okay, let's say Tat, somehow I know that Tat means Bhagavan. You are that which is Bhagavan. Theek hai. Who is this I? Limited fellow. 5 foot 9 inches, with heels. And then, and this fellow saying, I have all these problems. How can I be Bhagavan? Quickly, you close the book, you close the mind, you close the laptop and say, I cannot listen anymore because how can I be Bhagavan? Correct? So therefore, it is very clear that when the apparent, the words do not make sense, there are apparent differences on either side of the Upanishad. On either side of the Upanishadic Mahavakya, I mean to say. When there are apparent differences, you have to look for the underlying equation, the underlying identity. So therefore, this sifting is required. Therefore, it is called Tvam-Pada-Vichara. Enquiry into the word Tvam by removing all the non-Tvam elements which have creeped into the Tvam. And so therefore, we make a distinction between Atma, I, which is protected from everything, which is asanga, which is not involved in anything, which is that which is the invariable in the waker, dreamer and deep sleeper, without being either the waker or the dreamer or the sleeper. It is the one that inheres through all states, itself not a state. And it is the one that is there, that is invariable in every cognition. Whether I have a good thought or a bad thought, the I is the one who is upholding the thought. The thought is born into I and resolves into I, is sustained by this I. The I, however, is separate from the thought. Correct? The I is not a product of the thought. So this itself is called, this itself gives a lot of confidence. And this is the beginning point of the study. It also happens to be the beginning point of the last text that we study in the course of this teaching, which is called Brahma Sutra. The introductory bhashya of Adi Shankara in the Brahma Sutra exactly deals with this. He says that there are two pratyayas. Pratyayas means cognition. One is idam pratyaya gochara. Gochara means object of cognition. So one is called idam pratyaya gochara, means the object of this cognition. Idam means this body, this mind, this senses, this thought, this door, this window, this person, this child, this dog, this cat, this house. This also includes that. But here we are just talking of this because Adi Shankara wants to also look at the body-mind-sense complex as a product of this, belonging to this cognition, coming under the category of this cognition. And that this, the word, the pronoun, this is qualified by all kinds of things. Yeah. This object, and so this cognition, which is separate from aham pratyaya gochara, which is separate from what? I cognition. So when we find out what is this I cognition, the I cognition is the one that recognizes all the this. Correct? So the I cognition obtains in two ways. The recognizer of all this, the recognizer of all the objects belonging into this cognition, and then what? The recognizer of the I itself. It obtains in two ways. As the observer of this cognition and as the observer of itself, and the I therefore is self-evident. Okay? Yeah. Now we are into high Vedanta. So this is what is technically called Tvam-Pada-Vichara. Now, however, the distinction between the aham pratyaya gochara, the I cognition, and idam pratyaya gochara, the objects belonging to this cognition, is only part of the story of the gain of the knowledge. Oh, is that so? What is the other part? We will see after the break. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.